Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Hello friends, welcome to CFA Level 2 demo session, and this is going to be on derivatives chapter. And in derivatives, we are going to be specifically bothered about interest rate options. Okay, what are interest rate options? You have a cap, you have a floor, you have a caplet, you have a floorlet, you have a collar, you have a special collar, you have a long collar, you have a short collar. We're going to be discussing about all of those. It's a very interesting topic, fine. Now, this is derivatives has very good weightage, very decent weightage as far as CFA level 2 is concerned, and this is one topic that you should not forget or you should not ignore, because questions are asked from this chapter in the eventual CFA exam most often than not. Okay, so let us go and have a look at the demo session. This actually is an extract of the actual session that I took for my students online. So this is not the full session, but it is an extract, some small piece of the overall class that I have taken for my students. So if you have any queries, or if you want to know more information, or you have any further doubts or anything, please reach out to us on forum on our apps, or follow us on social media, comment or tag us on social media, and we are always here to help you. So now interest rate options. Now the thing is about interest rate options. First I'll explain on screen, then I'll use pen and paper. Same way, in which way we have these prices of stocks moving up, you can also have prices interest rates moving up. Interest rates trees can also be used to value interest rates calls input. What's an interest rate call input? Guess. I told you interest rate for futures is basically not on interest rate, but it is on no, what is the underlying? Underlying is the underlying interest rate, or is the underlying asset, underlying a borrowing? I said whenever anyone talks of interest rate futures, they are talking about bond futures. Yeah, it is everything to do with a bond or a loan. Same way here, interest rate calls also are saying that if the interest rates go beyond a certain number, I will borrow or I will not borrow. Call is basically I have a right to borrow, put is I have a right to lend or something. We'll see all of that. Okay, basically calls and puts, all of these are with respect to the borrowing and lending, not with respect to the interest rate. I mean, you can't buy and sell interest rate, no, you can only borrow at a certain interest rate or lend at a certain interest rate. Okay, so now what is an interest rate call? Interest rate call is the value of a cap. No, okay, so I'll have to explain cap first. Let us come to call, and then we will look at cap. Okay, cap and floor. What is an interest rate call? The holder receives payments if the reference rate is greater than the fixed rate. That is, if let's say the market, I agree for an interest rate call of 5%. Market rate, let us say, is 10%. So I receive payments if the reference rate is greater than the strike rate. So this is the strike rate. This is the market reference rate. So if market reference rate is 10% and my strike rate is 5%, I receive money. If I go long on an interest rate call, holder receives payments if the reference rate is greater than the strike rate. Long interest rate option is the right to pay fixed. That is, I will borrow at 5% and I will lend at 10%. The right to pay fixed and receive floating. You remember our FRA? What was FRA? FRA, I said that I have a right to, there was one thing also I told you. FRA is a summation of two contracts, floating plus fixed. Right, same interest rate call also is a right to pay fixed and receive floating. Okay, so what is the difference between FRA and interest rate call? There
is only one side.
One side matlab?
No, I don't pay.
In an FRA, you can make a profit or loss. In an interest rate call, you will make only profit. You will pay premium, but you will never make a loss. So let us say market interest rate is 2% instead of 5%. So you will not receive 2 and pay 5. You will say I will let the call expire. What is a call? Call is a right, not an obligation. In a forward rate agreement, you have to necessarily do that something. We discussed, you are wise, unwise, if you are wise, market will go your way, you will make money. You are unwise, market will go opposite side and you don't make money, you lose money, correct? Here there is no concept of wise, unwise. Even if you are unwise, you would have lost the initial premium. Beyond that, you will not lose anything.
Got it.
Got it? So in a call and put, you have a right, you don't have an obligation, okay? Then, and this reference rate is MRR. Everywhere we use an MRR. MRR can be any reference rate, you can do it for anything. Okay. Now, what is an interest rate call payoff? Payoff of an interest rate call is determined by the spread between strike rate and reference rate. What is the formula? It is max of. This is where the optionality comes. That is, my profit is either 0 or this one. What is this? Notional NP is notional principal, then market reference rate and strike rate. This is 10% and this is 5%. So the difference between those two into actual days by 360. So here please note the number of actual days by 360. If you have taken a call for 90 days into 90 by 360. Right? This is an interest rate call. You have a right, not an obligation. Then what is an interest rate put? Ulta. Holder receives payments if the rates fall. So here interest rate call may, if the rate goes up, you make money. In a put, you make money if the rates fall. So that is, you are someone who is willing to, you have a right to pay floating and receive fixed. So if the rates fall, you will pay very small sum, but you will receive a very large sum. Okay, initially you would have paid some premium, and the rate can fall only to 0, no? It cannot fall beyond that. So what you pay can only go down to 0. So which is why your profit is limited. And receive fixed, because anyway going to receive a fixed number, your receiving is only so much. It cannot change. Whereas in case of a call, you have a right to pay fixed. So your fixed number is defined. You can receive anything. You can receive 10%, 20%, 100%, I don't know, whatever the number is. Right. So it is potentially infinite, which is why the curve is going like this. Whereas here, the curve is limited. You have a limitation. All the put contracts look like this only. Now moving forward, interest rate put. You understood interest rate put, right? So all these things, no, Jeremiah, you please make a note. What is an FRA? What is an interest rate call? What is a swap? What is a swap? So all the terms look very confusing, very close together, and very similar words are used, thrown around everywhere. Unless you physically put pen to paper and write what is what, you will get confused. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Now interest rate put. How is the payoff determined? Same like our call option, put option. Maximum of your strike minus reference. So I agreed to pay floating, right, and receive fixed. So reference rate is, market rate is, let's say 5%, and my put is at let us say pay floating, right, pay floating and receive fixed. So I receive 7 and pay 5. So I basically make 2% in between. If the reference rate, this 5% instead of market reference rate ends up at, let's say 8%, then the put is 0. Value is 0, because your this becomes negative, and your payoff from an option is max at the max 0. Right? Now what you have to understand here is, this is the statement that you have to understand. A cap, okay, or a floor. So you have two terms called cap and a floor. A cap is sum of interest rate call options, and a floor is a sum of interest rate put options. Okay, so this I will explain using a pen and paper.
So in case of the call option, what if the interest rates were negative?
So what exactly is a call option, interest rate call? I'm just opening that sheet. Interest rate call is a right to pay fixed and receive floating.
Yeah.
So you will pay fixed and you will receive floating. So if the floating rate is negative, okay, I will pay 7%, and what is the thing? Let me share the screen here again. I pay fixed and receive floating. Let's say my fixed is 5%. Receive floating, that is, let's say receive 10. So 10 minus 5, I make 5. But let us say this 10 is not 10 but is minus 10. So minus 10 minus 5 is minus 15. But option I have an optionality, either 0 or minus 15, whichever is higher. So I will choose 0. So I will not exercise the option.
And if this was a put, it would be
So I have, so put me negative will not have a problem, no? So okay, negative you will get plus. So you will receive money. But negative interest rate, so if you look at this, here I told negative interest rate, I have said assumed no negative interest rate. In Japan's case or Germany's case, there are times when the interest rates were negative, but that is, it is not minus 10, minus 15, it is minus 0.1 and minus 0.2. Okay, so don't take interest rates will go negative. They have happened, okay, it is not that they have not happened, they have happened. Even futures have gone negative, okay, once. Crude oil futures once went negative in time of COVID.
crude oil futures are gone negative, meaning they will pay.
Correct, exactly, because there was no place to store, because all storage points were full, because nobody was willing to consume, because all plants were shut, because whole world was in a lockdown. So it actually happened in real life. Okay, so where were we? We were in this point about caps and floor. Okay, this is the most interesting part. So if you look at, let's say you have a borrowing, okay, you have a borrowing in which you borrowed $1 million, and interest rate is, let's say, is a fixed rate, or not fixed rate, it's a variable rate. Okay, interest rate is variable. Interest rate is variable, and variable you are expecting LIBOR. Okay, let's take it as LIBOR, Sonia, SOFR, anything. Okay, one of those. And you were thinking it will be in the 5 to 6% range. You are comfortable in this range, right? Okay, as long as it is 5, you are okay. If it is below 5 also it is okay, but you are not okay above 6. Okay, so what you do is, you enter into an option called a cap. Audible, right?
Yep.
So what you do is, you enter into a structure, enter into a derivative where you say, boss, I know I have borrowed in LIBOR, but I cannot pay if the market goes up beyond 6. So what you do is, every month or every quarter, let's assume this is a quarterly LIBOR, 3-month LIBOR. Every quarter, I'll pay you 3%, okay? Some number like 3%. In return, you give me LIBOR. This is transaction 1. You are entering into transaction 2 so that this LIBOR loan is there, no? This is an outflow, this is a minus. This plus will compensate these two, and instead your loan rate is fixed at 3%. Okay, this is a normal swap. Agreed? In this, you change the position. You say, if the rate is above 6%, you pay me that. If rate greater than 6%, pay me rate, let us say X, one rate called X greater than 6%, you pay me X minus 6%. This is plus. I will pay you every quarter 1%. My outflow, this is inflow. So what happens? Let's say suddenly LIBOR is 15%. My comfort rate is 5 to 6, and I have entered into a cap of 6. So what happens? I'll have to pay somebody 15, the original lender. This is my original outflow. Why? LIBOR is 15. Agreed? But minus, okay. But what will happen? I have entered into a contract with somebody, and this somebody is saying, whatever is the rate above 6, I will compensate you. So I will get 9. How? 15 minus 6. Okay. 15 is this LIBOR value. Whatever is the LIBOR value, I will compensate. LIBOR minus 6, I will pay you 9. Okay. So my effective rate is only 6% plus cost of cap, which is 1% something, some number called 1%. This is fixed and this cap is also fixed. However, if let us say LIBOR is 3%, your cap will go waste. Why? If it is above 6% only, that fellow will pay me. If it is below 6%, he will not pay me.
Yeah.
Right? So, I will pay 3% outflow from the cap, inflow 0, cost of cap 1% outflow. My cost is, total cost is 4%. Agreed? So, what is this? This cap is done for, let's say you have a 2-year loan, 3-month LIBOR. So, how many installments? How many interest payments? 8 payments. You will do this for all the 8 payments. No, you will not do this for the first payment, because first payment is already determined on day 0. You will probably do this for 7 payments. Okay? You do this for 7 payments. Why? You understood, no? Why first payment not done? Already know the rate. There is no point of entering into a swap for something that you already know. You should do things for what you don't know. Correct? So, there are 7 payments. Each payment may, you are receiving how much? Strike minus, what is that? You are receiving reference rate. You are receiving LIBOR minus 6%, comma 0 max into notional principal into 90 by 360. Every time you are receiving this. Yes or no? If it is 15%, you are getting paid 15 minus 6. Correct?
Yeah.
LIBOR minus 6. This LIBOR is reference rate. This is strike rate. This formula is same as your formula of interest rate call. Interest rate call, what is the formula? Notional into reference rate minus strike rate into actual by 360. So, a cap is, I am not able to see, okay, I am sorry.
No, I can see.
No, you can see this, I was writing on the iPad. The cap is a sum of value of its component interest rate calls. So, a cap means cap for the entire loan. Interest rate call means call for a single transaction. So, a sum of a bunch of interest rate calls together make a cap. Did you get my point? You want me to repeat?
A sum of interest.
Sum nahi, bunch. Don't think a sum. Take a bunch, B-U-N-C-H. A bunch of interest rate calls is equal to a cap.
Why a bunch? Why not one only?
Because interest rate option is only for one transaction. A call is only for one transaction, no? A call is not for 10 transactions.
Yeah.
You need 10 calls to add together to make a cap. Same way, a bunch of interest rate puts make something called as a floor. What is a floor? So, a cap is a series. Cap is a series of calls with same strike. Okay. Floor is a series of puts. So, you as a borrower are interested in ensuring you don't pay high. Who is interested in ensuring they don't get less interest?
Who is
Interested in ensuring that they don't receive less interest income?
less interest income? Less interest income.
The lender.
Yeah, the lender.
So bank, think of a bank.
Yeah.
Bank who is lending to you, they have to ensure that they always get a minimum interest income. So what is a put? A put is if the rate goes below some number, market reference rate, if the market reference rate goes below a strike price, you make difference between strike and market reference rate. Okay. So think of a bank which has lent money. So let's say they have lent 1 million at variable rates. Let us say at LIBOR. Now LIBOR, when they lent, was 5%. Suddenly LIBOR has now crashed to 1%. They are going to lose interest income. So they will enter into a put contract, which a single put contract will ensure that whenever the interest rates fall below 5%, they will get 5% minus 1%. And for this they will pay a premium. Okay, how the premium is arrived, what they will pay is independent. Okay, this money they will get. A series of puts is a floor. So you have kept your bank's interest income is protected at 5%. Even if the market rate goes below 1, below 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, whatever it goes, they will continue to get the differential between market rate and the rate that they want. This is called as a floor. A cap is a series of calls, a floor is a series of puts.
This is like reinsurance, right?
Correct. Something of that sort. Agreed? Now, the key point in this whole thing is, I will complete something. So these guys have actually given it in very haphazard manner. We are in a flow. So I will finish something in this flow and then we'll go back to options. Let us say you are a bank is buying a floor, right? A bank has lent some money, hence it is buying a floor. Let's say you are a borrower. You can also buy a floor. But why will you buy a floor? Or you can also do a transaction with the floor. Why will you do a transaction with the floor? I will tell you. So let us say you have 1 million loan. Initial example, you are comfortable with an interest rate range of 5 to 6%. Okay, 1 million, currently LIBOR is at, let's say, some 5.5%. Okay, currently LIBOR is at 5.5%, you are okay with any range of 5 to 6%. But if market goes beyond 6, you want some compensation. If market goes below 5 also, you don't, I mean, if you want this compensation, no, you'll have to pay premium. Correct? If you want to be compensated for whenever market goes above 6, you want to be compensated, you have to pay some premium. Same way, but this premium you don't have money, argument's sake, or this premium is too big, too large. What you do is, you buy a cap and sell a floor. There is a bank who is interested to buy a floor. Bank will buy it. When a bank buys a floor, what is it? If interest rate goes below 5%, they will get, let's say market rate is 1%. Their strike is 5%. They will get money K minus MRR, they will get money 4%. So what? For this, they will pay a premium. Correct?
Yeah.
So they are buying a floor. So you sell a floor. So when you sell a floor, what happens is, you receive floor premium, pay cap premium, both of them will compensate something. This probably will be 100, this will be 120, your net cost is only 20. Okay, argument's sake, right? Minus 20 is the cost. But you have compensated to a large extent. And what have you done? Because you have sold a put or you have sold a floor, right? So floor is a series of puts. You will sell it at 5%. What 5%? The floor ka strike rate is at 5%. Why will you choose 5? Because you are comfortable with an exchange rate of, where is that? Because you are comfortable with an exchange rate of 5 to 6. So even if the market rates go down to 1%, 2%, 3%, you will continue to pay 5. How? Because of this because of this floor. You have sold a floor to somebody, that floor fellow will come and ask for money. So even though your original loan ka interest is only 1%, you have entered into a derivative where you have to pay that 5% minus 1% to somebody, which is 4%. So your total overall interest cost is again back to 5%. But if interest rate, let's say, goes to 10%, the floor fellow will not ask. See, the floor fellow is bothered about what? The interest rate not going down. If it is going up, so the put option is useless. Whereas a call fellow, where you have purchased a call, you will make money. How will you make money? Call is what? Where is this? Call is what? Call is by cap. You purchased a cap. Cap at 6% you purchase. So market interest rate goes to 10%. You will be compensated 10 minus 6. If market interest rate goes to 4%, this call is waste. But you have to pay somebody 1%. Why? Because you sold a floor of 5% to somebody. So your interest rate is here 5, here your interest rate is 6. So your interest rate will oscillate only between 5 and 6. You got the point? I'll repeat again. So you bought a cap at 6, sold plus cap minus floor at 5. So if market rate, so the premium is, for this you paid 120, for this you received 100, your net cost is minus 20. Clear? So if market interest rate is 10%, on the cap, you will receive cap payoff of 4%. Why? That fellow will compensate you whenever market rate is more than 6. On the floor, you have sold a floor. So somebody needs to be compensated if the market interest rate goes down. But the market interest rate has not gone down. The market interest rate has only gone up. So if it has gone up, the floor payoff is 0. Floor that you have to pay amount of money to somebody is 0. If let's say the market interest rate is 2%, the cap fellow, so, and in this what happens? You will receive 4. You will pay minus 10 to your lender, you will receive 4 from cap, your net interest cost is minus 6. Whereas in a flow, when market interest rate goes down to 2, your cap fellow will say, "Arey, you are anyway making money, so there is no, you will not exercise the cap." Why? Because your cap is anything greater than 6, right? So this payoff is 0. Floor, what happens? The floor buyer, the market interest rate is below 5, you need to compensate him. So you will compensate him for how much? 3. So your total cost, you will pay 2% to your original lender and 3% to the floor guy to whom you have sold a floor. So your overall interest cost is minus 5. Agreed? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
So your interest rates will oscillate between 5 and 6. You can buy a cap and sell a floor. So this kind of structure is called as a collar. Cap plus floor. Okay. You have something called as a zero cost collar or a special collar, people call different things, where this premium is 0. How will the premium be 0? If you change this 5 to 4, then this will become 120, then it will become 0. So you adjust the rates in such a way that you have to be in the comfort zone of the interest rate that you are willing to pay, the range, and the premium becomes 0. Okay, so that is called as a zero cost collar or a special collar. Different people call it different things. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, now let us come back to different one. Now interest rate call, interest rate put, I have finished collar, special collar also I have finished. Now come to how do you value interest rate call options? Using a binomial approach. Using the following binomial tree, to value a 1 million notional 2-year interest rate call with its exercise rate of 5. So please note one more thing, if T0 is 4%, this is yearly rate. So 4% is already determined. So the rate from 0 to 1 is 4, from 1 to 2 is 6.5 and 2 to 3 is 6.28. Correct?
What would say
So there is a binomial tree they are saying, giving. If the interest rate is given as 4% on day 0, annual interest rate, from year 0 to year 1, it is 4%. Year 1 to 2 is 5. Year 2 to 3 is 6.28.
Yeah.
Okay. So let us say the interest rates are moving in a binomial fashion like this. Okay. Then what will be the value of a option with 5% strike price? So what you do is, last year the payoff is 6.28. So call option pays off when interest rate is greater than strike rate of 5%. A European option pays off only at maturity, you know all of that. So in the last period, 6.28 minus 5. So only if it is greater than 5, you have a payoff. So here you don't have a payoff, here you don't have a payoff, correct?
Yeah.
Here also you don't have a payoff. Only here you have a payoff.
Yeah.
So 6.28 minus 5 into 1 million for 1 full year, you get 12,800. This 12,800, you discounted what rate?
Uh, 6.28.
No, that is exactly what I was telling you. That is why I was so specific.
Sorry, 5.04.
Correct. That is why I asked you also 2 times, 3 times. Okay. So this is 12,800. This 12,800 is, you have, let us assume it is a 50% payoff, or what is that? 0.5. What did they say? 0.5? I think it is 50%. The probability is 50% or something like that. Right. So 50% into 12,800 divided by 1.0504. So you get a present value of 6,000 here. Both these cases payoff is 0, the value is 0 here. And if you look again, for the payoff 6,000 and here payoff 0, you take an average of both, and if probability is 50%, you get, and you divide this by 1.04. So you get a value of 2929. There are not too many detailed problems in the material about this. It's a very, they've covered it only upar se. This whole collars, caps and all, they've covered more in level 3. But they've just wanted to introduce this to you guys. Okay. They see, it is there in the syllabus, but in a very brief manner. So it is both there and not there. That is how unfortunately it is.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So you understood how this works?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. Now comes the best part. This is what I like. This is with respect to the question that you are asking also. This is long FRA is long call plus short put. Does this make, so all of these have to make sense to you. See, first thing, let us look at the easiest ones. Cap, I explained to you, is a series of interest rate calls. Floor, I told you, a series of interest rate puts. Over.
Yeah.
These two are over. Okay. Then what is long FRA? I have a right to borrow at 7% even if the market interest rate is 10%. So if the market interest rate is 10%, then I will get back 10 minus 7, I will get 3.
Yeah.
So I have a right to, so long call. What is a long interest rate call? Let us.
If it is below the rate, strike rate.
I have a right to pay fixed and receive floating.
Yeah.
So I have a right. If the reference rate is greater than the strike rate. So I have a right. So basically market interest rate is 10%, then I will get reference strike rate is 3%. The strike rate is, market interest reference rate is 10 and my strike rate is 7, I will get 3. This is a call. 10 minus 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming here, long call. So I have done a long call. Long call is what? If the market interest rate goes up, I make 3%. 10 minus 7. Keep these my numbers in mind. 10 and 7. 10 is my 7 is my strike,
Yeah.
and 10 is my MRR. Okay. So I have a right to borrow at 7 even though market rate is 10. So I basically am making a gain of 3%.
Yep.
Same thing with a long call. Long call is I have a receive a floating, pay fixed. Now think ulta. Ulta is what? Market reference rate is 7 and my strike price is 10. Okay. And short put. What is a put? Put is the right to pay floating and receive fixed.
Yeah.
I will pay, right to pay, I will pay 7 but I will receive 10.
So receive fixed is floating, no, it is. Pay, for a put it is pay.
Right to pay floating, receive fixed.
And receive fixed.
This is why I was telling you, you have to be very careful, you have to write down parallelly. No matter how much I explain, unless you have to physically get it into your head. Right. So I've shorted a put. So in long call case, I have an option. In a put case also I have an option, but the other party has an option if I've shorted a put. And FRA is a compulsion, correct? FRA is a compulsion. If I made a bad call, I lose money. If I made a good call, I gain money. Whereas in a call, long call, if I made a bad call also, I will lose only premium. I will not lose anything else. And short put, if I made a bad call, somebody else will gain money. So if you combine these two, it is actually an FRA.
Okay.
You have to physically think of a case. You know, if market rate is 10, what will happen? If market rate is 7, what will happen? If I combine both, what will happen? You want me to show that?
Yes, better if I'm having a little trouble.
ठीक है, okay.
Visualizing.
What is FRA? FRA is obligation, compulsory to borrow at a fixed rate. If so, I will borrow at, let's say, 7%. Market is at 10%. Right? I make a gain of 3%, correct? I will borrow at 7%, market is at 4%, I will make a loss of 3%, correct? FRA mein? Hello? Right? Right? Now, interest rate option, okay? Call. We'll first do call, then we'll do put. I have a right to borrow. I have a right, not obligation. Here, the key word is obligation. There I have a right. What is the right? Right to pay fixed and receive floating. Okay. So, borrow at 7% and receive 10%. This is market rate. Okay. Borrow fixed. Right to pay fixed means I am borrowing fixed, right? And receive floating means I am lend some money. So I make a gain of 3%. If let us say market rate is I borrow fixed. If market rate is let's say 3%. Market interest rate is 3%. What is the value of a call?
The value of a call will be 0.
Correct, exactly. Because I won't do anything.
Yeah.
Why will I borrow at 7 and receive fixed? I will say, hell with the premium that I paid, ignore this call.
Yep.
Correct? But if it is 10%, then I will exercise it. Now,
Yes.
put. What is put? Put is receive fixed, let's say same 7%, and borrow, that is pay market, that is floating. I have a right to pay, right, not obligation again, right. I will receive 10 and pay, receive 7 and pay 10. What is the value of this put? I will receive 7, pay 10. Will I do this?
Receive 7, pay 10. No, why will I do that?
Correct, 0. Whereas I will receive 7, but I will have to pay, let us say, 4%. I will do this, right?
Yeah,
So gain is 3%.
yeah,
This is long put. That is, you bought a put.
when I am receiving fixed and paying floating.
Hmm.
So in a calls case, I am receiving floating and paying fixed.
Receiving floating, paying is fixed. Yes.
I'll just write it down.
Huh. So the whole point in a interest rate call and put, everywhere in a call it is right to pay fixed. So please think of even a FRA also. What do you do in an FRA? I have a right to borrow at a certain rate. I have an obligation to borrow at a certain rate. Correct?
Yeah,
Predetermined rate. It is not a floating rate. Correct? Think of call also as like that only. But instead of an obligation, it is a right. I have a right to borrow at certain rate. So I have a right to pay fixed interest rate.
yeah,
Okay. So I have a right to pay fixed interest rate and receive floating. In case of an FRA,
yes, so you say?
in case of an FRA, it is an obligation. In case of an interest rate option, it is a right. It is a choice. It is a, your option. It is at your right. Equate an interest rate option with an FRA, boss. Interest rate call. Specifically, equate an interest rate call with an FRA, long FRA. In a long FRA, what are you doing? I have a obligation to borrow at 7%.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say, sir. A call is like going long.
Call is like going long on FRA. Correct, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just.
Correct. But the problem is in an FRA, you have an obligation. In a call, you don't have an obligation.
Understood. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, got it.
So what you do is, in order to fix that obligatory aspect, you sell a put. So what happens? If the market interest rate is 4%, in a long put, you will receive 3. Correct? You receive fixed of 7 and pay market of 4 in a put.
Yeah,
So you will receive 3. If it is a short put, it is minus 3, no?
a short put and a long put, what is the difference?
Long put means ulta. No. So here borrow fixed and receive market. Here you receive fixed, somebody else has a right to receive fixed and somebody else has a right to pay market. So a put and a call are not opposite of each other.
Okay.
Long put is opposite of short put. So, okay, let me explain. Call, put, long, short, fixed, floating. Okay. So, a long call is right to pay fixed. So, pay means minus. I will put this as minus. Okay. And receive floating.
Yeah.
Right. A put is what? Right to pay floating. Pay floating and receive fixed.
Yeah.
Here, both of these are rights. Okay.
Yeah.
The opposite, they appear as if this opposite is that, that opposite is this. But the opposite of this is the right. Oh, just hold on. So, the opposite of a long call is what? Somebody else selling you that right. Here, you have bought this right. here somebody, if you are shorting it, you have sold the right. See, buying this right is not as good as buying this right. So they cannot be opposites. The opposite of this and these two are not opposites, because you are buying a right to do something. Here you are doing buying a right to do this. Whereas the opposite of this is selling a right to do something like this. Even in a stock option, I have a right to buy a stock. Is it the same as I have a right to sell the stock?
No.
Same logic, no? I have a right to borrow it fixed. Is not the same as I have a right to borrow it floating.
Yeah.
Right? It is they both are not opposites. The right ka opposite rahega. Somebody is bought a right or somebody is sold a right.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so what happens is, where were we? We were in this place, FRA ka thing. So if if you have sold a put, your payoff is -3. Why -3? Market rate is 7, fixed rate is 7, market rate is 4. So you have sold a put. So somebody has a right to pay floating. So they will pay you 4 and receive 7. So they will basically receive 3. So basically you are paying 3. You're there with me?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. So what happens is, when you integrate these two, this is long call plus short put. What happens? You minus put, minus short put, or plus short put. So what happens? You are, when the market rate you are receiving, so when this one market rate goes down to 4%, you basically have to pay 3%. If the market rate, let us say here also the market rate came down to 4 in a long call, you will say, why will I borrow it fixed and lend it, why will I pay 7 and receive 4? I will not do it. Whereas in a short put, you are forced to do it. Because the short put is what? Somebody else will enforce that they will receive a fixed of 7 and they will pay you a variable of 4. So you will necessarily lose -3. So what happens here? When the market rate is 7 and 4, in a short put you lose 3. So what is happening? When the market is going 7-10, on a call you are gaining 3, on a put you are losing 3. So no matter what happens, let's say the interest rate is 7 and 20 or the interest rate is 7 and 1. What will happen in this 7 and 20? Here you will make a gain of 13. Here you will make a loss of 6. So what is happening? An FRA is what? An FRA is, I have a right to borrow at a predetermined rate. Right? Irrespective of what the market rate is. So what will happen here? You will end up, a combination of these two will ensure that you make a loss. So in this case, in the first case, 7 and 20, if this is an FRA, okay, think of an FRA. How much gain or loss will you make? I have a right to borrow at 7, market rate is 20. So you will make a gain of 13.
Yeah.
So you are making the same gain in a buy call. Put anyway waste, short put is waste. Whereas if the market rate comes down to ulta, which is market rate is market rate is 1% and you have agreed to borrow at 7%, what will you do? You will make a loss of 6. At that point of time, your call option will go waste, but the short put will kick in and you will make a loss of -6. So your FRA payoff is also -6, your long call plus short put payoff is also -6. So a long call plus short put at the same strike price is equal to your FRA.
So basically the person who is shorting the call or the put, they have to pay if it goes against them.
Correct, obviously, no?
But the person who is buying.
Correct, exactly. Because that is the choice. You have a choice not to take a loss. Okay? Okay, now we have finished 3. 2 more are left.
What? Finish 3 what?
These 3 parts here.
Only 3.7 parts are there, na?
No, I am showing something else. No, I am showing something else. I was on some other screen.
अच्छा.
ठीक है? We have finished 3 here.
This. Okay.
Okay. Now let us look to other one. Long cap plus short floor. Long cap plus short floor is what I told you. I explained you the whole story. Collar. A collar, but with the same strike price. In a collar, I told you, you will try and subsidize it such a way that 5 to 6% may, so that one premium offsets the other premium. Correct? Don't remember. There are way too many things.
Little above my head now.
Okay, we'll finish it. We'll wind this up. Don't worry. We'll wind this up in 5 minutes.
Okay.
I told you first, a cap is a series of calls. Floor is a series of puts. You do a cap plus floor. Buy cap plus short floor. I explained also, like a bank. If a bank will usually buy a floor, so you sell a floor to a bank. Then you offset the premiums of both of them.
Yeah.
Right? So it is a collar. A cap minus long cap and a short floor is a collar. If cap I said here is at 6% and the floor is at 4%.
Yeah.
If both cap and floor are at same 6%, there will be some premium. Ignore the premium.
Okay.
So I am defining my interest rate as 6%. What is this? What is a derivative contract where you originally were a floating rate person as a borrower, but now because of some fancy activity that you did, all your interest rate is changed to 6%.
So it's become fixed rate.
Correct. How did you convert a floating to fixed?
I passed on the floating obligation to
What is it called?
it is called
I give you floating, receive fixed. What is it called? Or whatever. I receive floating, pay fixed.
pay fixed, receive floating is a call.
No. That is a right to pay floating, right to this thing. Here I am 100% obligated.
Acha, it is a long.
Long what? There is no such thing called just long. No. FRA is right to borrow at a fixed rate. There, even if you, there market rates will ensure that if market rate is higher or lower, you will make a gain or loss. And it is only for one transaction. FRA is for a single transaction. Here cap and floor are for multiple transactions we discussed. Cap is a series of calls, floor is for a series of puts.
Yeah.
What is the contract in which for all your future payments, you are paying fixed, receiving floating?
I don't.
Swap.
Acha.
It is a interest rate swap.
Yeah. Collection weapon.
Correct. So it is an interest rate swap. So a long cap plus a short floor with the same strike price is called as a payer swap.
Okay.
Okay. So we finish fourth one. Then come to last one and one more slide. That's all. I will not take too much. This itself. We'll solve the questions in the next session. Okay, don't, I'll not solve the questions also now, that will be chaos. Right. They have not given in this thing here, they have actually given it in your book. Pata hai, that is very bad actually. They have not given the online material, but they have given it in the book, study material.
What?
So open this page, no, book number 4, 187. So what I am showing on screen, they have given it much more beautifully. A long interest rate call and a short interest rate put with exercise rate is equal to current FR rate can be used to replicate a long FRA. That is the first line item. (187) equivalencies in interest rate derivatives. You're able to see that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Second one, if the excess rate is the current FRA rate, a short interest rate call and a long interest rate can be put to replicate a short FRA. So whatever can be done for a long FRA, you do ulta, it will become a short FRA. Okay? Short call plus long put is short FRA. Long call plus short put is long FRA. Agreed?
Yeah.
Number 3 in the book. A series of interest rate call options with different maturities in the same price can be combined to form an interest rate cap. Correct? I told you, a series of call options is called, and by the way, there is a terminology, it is called as a caplet. A bunch of caplets make a cap. Okay. Similarly, an interest rate floor is a portfolio of interest rate put options, and each of these puts is known as a floorlet. A bunch of puts are also known as bunch of floorlets, they make a floor. Okay. Then point number 5, the exercise rate on a cap and a floor is same. A long cap and a short floor can be used to replicate a pair swap. Just now we discussed this. Latest item. Number 4 on the screen. Right? Then we discussed this. Then number 6. Similarly, a short cap and a long floor is receiver swap. Ulta, exactly. Whatever is ulta of a pair swap is a receiver swap. Okay? Then the last one. If the exercise price on the floor and the cap are set to equal a market swap fixed rate, the value of the cap will be equal to the value of the floor. Now this is the thing. So, what is swap fixed rate? If you remember the formula for swap fixed rate, the rate at which various variable rate payments are converted into a one single annual fixed rate.
Yeah.
What is it? It is a discounting of all the future rates by 1 minus df by df plus all the things, no? That is a swap fixed rate.
Yes.
1 minus last df by sum of all dfs, correct? The exercise rate on floor and cap are set to equal a market swap fixed rate. So, the exercise price of both call and a floor, floor and a cap, sorry, floor and a cap. Cap means ceiling on interest rate, floor means a floor on the interest rate. Both of them are set at the same market swap fixed rate. This is SFR, right? Then value of cap will be equal to value of floor. So, what they are basically saying is, if the exercise rate, so think of one imaginary interest rate. What is that imaginary interest rate? We will come back later. There is one imaginary interest rate. At that interest rate, if you enter into a call, the call will have some value. At that imaginary interest rate, you enter into a put or a series of puts, which is basically a floor. That floor will have a value. If that interest rate is same interest rate as SFR in the market, then value of the call and value of the put will be same. No need to get too deep into this, just learn this and leave it. Okay? Because for this you need to be very comfortable with everything that we have discussed.
Okay.
Okay? So, don't need to, 7th one you can ignore, but just know that swap fixed rate pay, if the caps and floor are both set at the same swap fixed rate, then the value of the cap will be equal to value of the floor. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, I will not get into why, how and all that. We will come back to this later. Now, last slide for the day. Okay, I will not go beyond this. We will catch up in the next session. Actually, for even everything, options also they have given black shoals, but I wanted to discuss that subsequently. Now there is something called as a swap plus an option.
Swap plus an option.
So I have an option to enter into a swap. So a payer swaption is a right to enter into a swap as a fixed rate payer.
Okay.
A receiver option is a right to enter into a swap as a fixed rate receiver.
Okay.
And this is the fun part. Don't get confused. Long receiver swap plus short payer swaption is equal to receiver swap. And short receiver swaption plus long payer swaption is equal to payer swap. Okay? So I just want to show this to you. You think over this. Okay, I will not. You understood what a swaption is, no? I have a right to enter into a swap as a fixed. Payer swaption is right to enter into swap as a fixed rate payer. That's all. That is I win if rates increase. Receiver swaption is right to enter into swap as a fixed rate receiver. That is if I win if rates fall. If you combine these two, it will become a swap. Same way, when we combined a call and a put on interest rates, it became an FRA. Long put short, long call short put is a long FRA, and short call long put is a short FRA. If you remember. Long, where is this? Long call short put is long FRA. Same way, long payer swaption plus short receiver swaption is equal to a payer swap. Long payer swaption plus short receiver swaption is equal to a payer swap. Same logic. See, you are combining two rights. You are taking a right to buy and selling a right to sell to make it an obligation. That is the basic funda. What is a swap? Swap is also an obligation. No matter what the rate is, I have to exchange 7%, I will give 10%, I will pay fixed, floating, receive fixed, or I will pay fixed, receive floating, correct? Swap is that only, no?
Yeah.
So you are combining two options, one long, one short. Options are both have rights, but you have combined them so that the rights actually get cancelled and it becomes a fixed number. Okay, that is the saransh of this. Okay, you prepare on this, go through this, we'll solve problems on this and go through the next one. See, okay? Okay, chalo man, then we'll wind up today's session. So friends, I hope you understood about interest rate options as far as derivatives are concerned. And if you have any further queries, as I said, feel free to reach out to us. All the very best.